Welcome to the Dr. Carolyn Coker-Ross Show, awakening your full potential and expanding your understanding of how to live fully and joyfully by making conscious choices that promote and maintain vitality in all areas of your life. Now here's your host, Dr. Carolyn Coker-Ross. Please be sure to listen to this episode in an environment that is safe. Do not listen to this recording while driving a car or operating any kind of machinery.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dr. Carolyn Coker-Ross Show. Today, my guest is Dr. Daria Long-Gillespie. Dr. Gillespie is a Harvard and Yale-trained emergency room doctor on faculty at the University of Tennessee's Erlanger Hospital. Her ability to stay calm and take charge during chaos has proved to be a valuable asset in the emergency room. Dr. Long-Gillespie's expertise on topics such as Zika, Ebola, measles, women's health, parenting, and heart health has also led her to appear on CNN, HLN, The Dr. Oz Show, The Doctors, and to speak regularly at health conferences across the country. Her first book, Mom Hacks, is due out February 2019. Welcome to the show, Daria.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So you just wrote a new book. What prompted you to write Mom Hacks?
Yes, as you mentioned, it's coming out in February. It feels like it's my third child with a due date of February 2019. So you know how that is, right? It really does become another child. But writing a book was not something that was a life goal for me. But really what started all of this, I think if you kind of go back a little bit, I was in residency and I'd always been really healthy, never had any medical problems. And then suddenly in my intern year, I started waking up with really swollen feet and ankles and knees and my hips, and my hands when I woke up were swollen, thick, fat fingers, red, painful, everything hurt. It came out of the blue. I had no idea. Of course, you have medical student syndrome. So, I quickly diagnosed myself with everything from syphilis to tuberculosis, as everybody does when they're in this field. But I was in a lot of pain, and I had seen one doctor, and nobody in my family has any issues with arthritis. And so I had gone to a second opinion in Boston and was in so much pain that when I realized I'd left my car unlocked, I was about 50 feet away. I still to this day remember standing in that parking lot, and I hurt so badly. I just remember thinking, forget it. I don't care. Let them steal my car. I am not walking back. Like, it is enough to get me to the doctor's office. I can't walk back.
What were you eventually diagnosed with then?
So I was eventually diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. They put me on an injectable medication. So I was giving myself injections twice a week, which, I have patients who give themselves twice a day and more. So that of itself is no heroism on my part. But, you've worked in the ER. I was now immunosuppressed, meaning my immune system was weakened. And I was taking care of patients with every single diagnosis or illness and potentially always at risk of getting ill myself. And, it was great that my systems were at bay, but now I was on this medication for life. And I was really told, this is the way it's going to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I started researching, and I remember starting to make some changes to my sleep and stress and diet. And I remember being told by somebody, that'll never work.
Yeah.
It worked. And and just like you, I'm a huge proponent of there's Western medicine, and thank goodness for it. This is not to say, hey, just, do this one little lifestyle change and to go off all your medications. Absolutely not. That's not my point. But I was able to find things that made a massive difference and able to eventually come off medication. So to get back to your question, when I was pregnant with my first child, I remember being told by somebody, I was talking about going for a run, and she was a mom, and she said, oh, once you're a mom, you're never going to go to the gym again. And it was that exact same voice, it lit up the exact same regions of my brain that said, hold up, what's going on here? And I looked at the research, and in fact, if for every additional child a woman has, her risk of obesity rises by 7%.
Oh my.
And just by being a mom, you are at higher risk of poor nutrition, less sleep, higher stress, less exercise.
Do you think that's because in our culture we don't have a lot of family or social support for being a mom?
Carolyn, I think that is a huge thing. I mean, they say it takes a village because it does. It's hugely stressful. I don't have a lot of family close nearby, and it's stressful. You don't have that backup. So we have, as girlfriends, we try to be each other's backup. I think that's a big part of it. I think moms are also, and women in general, because the hacks are in mom hacks. I give them to people, whether they're moms or grandmothers or have no children at all, and it resonates to all of them. Women in general are today under this pressure to do so many different things and to put those things above their own health. And that if they do consider their health, they are considering that as like, you're obviously just prioritizing yourself first.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently about this, and she was working with a client who actually described taking care of yourself as being selfish.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like many women, I think most women are trained to take care of other people first. And then if there's any time left, they'll take care of themselves.
Yes, exactly. And there's something called Caregiver Syndrome, which is the person who does that, it becomes ill because they are taking care of somebody else. And as a new mom, there is the expression, put your own mask on first. I mean, as a new mom, if you tell me to do that, put my mask on before my child, I'm probably going to say, sorry, I'm putting that oxygen mask on my kid first. I don't care. So I acknowledge that I wasn't going to, leave my child so I could go do Pilates. So I said, well, how can I find something where we're putting on our masks simultaneously? How can I create systems and hacks that help me be healthy at the same time that my child is improving too?
So what kinds of things did you figure out that helped you?
Well, some of the most amazing things, because, the last thing we need is for me to come up and say, you just need to work harder. Maybe you should use more willpower or eat celery instead of chocolate. Like if you say those things to a group of women or men, and somebody's likely to punch you in the face. So a lot of the research, I incorporated, yes, the best of Western medicine, but a lot of behavioral psychology and behavioral economics. And some of the most interesting things is, we really kind of have a caveman brain in a modern world, in that our bodies and our brains have developed over millennia where things like sugar, salt, and fat were scarce. Or we went to sleep with the sun because that was the only source of light we had. Fast forward, in the last 150 years, our environment has drastically changed. Fat, sugar, salt are everywhere. Exercise is hard to get. And we have a billion things keeping us up at night and a really different way of stress kind of bombarding us. All of those things, our bodies are not evolved to handle that. Like they spent thousands of years evolving to the old method, and the environment's just changed so quickly. So one of the first things was, okay, instead of fighting the environment and how my body has evolved for 2,000 years, how can I make design changes, which is one of the big, I say DARE. So the D is design your environment. How can you make design changes to make your environment easier so that you're less tempted, or you're less kept up by bright light that throws off your circadian rhythm, or you can be less stimulated by that constant little death by 1,000 cuts, little tiny stressors we have all day long. So instead of fighting our body, instead of fighting our brain, working with it and just changing your environment.
So give me an example of some of the design changes.
That's why I put this first, because these are some of the easiest things to do. I tell people these things and I don't believe them. And people are like, that works? So one is, many people have heard, put the healthy where you can see it, the less healthy where you can't see it. Okay, we know that. But okay, so what does it really do? So there was some research out of the University of Utrecht. And what they did is apparently behavioral psychologists, as a note, Carolyn, and maybe you know this, their currency is M&Ms and chocolate candies. That's how they measure everything, which
and marshmallows.
Oh, yes, marshmallows. Exactly, like the universal thing. So they looked at how much chocolate people ate if the chocolate container was right next to them in a chair, 3 feet away, so they kind of had to reach, or 6 feet away, meaning you had to get up out of your chair and move to reach to get it. They found that if it was 6 feet away, so that you had essentially one single obstacle and that you had to get up out of your chair, people ate 1/3 as much of it as they would have.
Wow.
1/3. They ate 30% of what they would have, and they didn't have any more cravings. So what does that mean? That means that we are so lazy that laziness trumps chocolate, which should be
oh my gosh, that's hard to believe.
It is, I know. And so what does that mean? So instead of fighting that laziness, that's a place where I'm like, great, use that laziness. So in your pantry or wherever you are, wherever the chocolate is, sometimes I tell people, if it's something tempting, you're trying to kind of break that habit, get rid of it out of the house. But sometimes with kids and family, you have to keep it in the house. So put it someplace where there is one obstacle between you and the food. So maybe you have to just get the step stool, pull the step stool over and get it. And just that alone is going to reduce the amount of time you eat it. I was telling this to one mom and she said, okay, we did that with our Halloween candy after I had been talking to her. She said, we'd been having this issue of like, I couldn't stop eating my Halloween candy. And then we followed your advice. We put the stool in between and all of a sudden I haven't had any in a month.
Yeah,
like, and I haven't craved it.
It's brilliant, really, to redesign your environment in that way. Even small changes like that can make such a big difference.
It is, and that's what the point of hacks is. It's like, what is I don't have any time. Like you've worked in the ER. I'm an ER doctor. I have 2 kids. They're 4.5 and 1.5. I don't have any bandwidth. Like, I get that, and I know what that feeling is, so I didn't need some massive overhaul system. It's like, what is the very smallest thing I can do that's going to have the biggest impact? So that was one. Another simple design thing is just the light in your home. Many of us don't realize is how much that bright light affects us, and it throws off your circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm doesn't just control how much you sleep. It controls hormones and metabolism and a host of other processes. There was a study out of Harvard, and they took students and they just totally screwed up their circadian rhythm and totally screwed up their sleep. They were waking them up at midnight and telling them to go to sleep at 3 a.m. And in just 9 days, their cholesterol was higher, their blood pressure was higher, and a third of them would have tested positive for prediabetes.
Wow. Well, I was telling you when we were talking before the show that in the old days in the emergency room, we would work 24-hour shifts. So we would be awakened at midnight or 2 a.m. And that's actually one of the reasons why I left emergency medicine, because I was so sensitive to those changes in my sleep patterns that it really affected me. But did all of this help you with your arthritis? Is that?
Yes. So with my arthritis was just the beginning of it. And one of those was that change you just made, cutting back on I had the same problem with overnight shifts, not the day after the overnight shift, but the next day. My joints would always be more swollen. And, I think I was a little bit delirious each time. I would just pick fights with my husband and just never be at my best. And cutting back on those overnight shifts, but also then taking some big changes to cut sugar out of my life. And I think partly with that crazy ER schedule, I used to carry a bag of Skittles in my white coat pocket. In the middle of a shift, I would just pop a bag of Skittles right then and there. And cutting that, changing that sugar habit, I think made a massive difference. So sleep, sugar, and kind of also getting a handle on my stress, not making it go away because we can't live in a Pollyanna world, but controlling how it affected me. So I think those are the 3 biggest things that really made a change for me in my arthritis.
What are some of the other hacks that you talk about in your book?
Yes. So I said dare. And so that the D was design. The A is automate. So our brain loves habits. So this is another place. It's like, how can we use what our brain likes to do? Design uses laziness. So the automate uses habits. How do we create little tiny good habits in our day? And when we have habits you get into the car, you put on your seatbelt. You get home, you take off your shoes. We have those. Smokers have habits, and so it's about breaking bad habits too. A lot of smokers, as you know, when you try to help somebody quit smoking, you find out what's your cue or your trigger to smoke, and you go there. Not if they crave to smoke, because that's too late, but you start at what is the cue that gets people to smoke. So it's the same thing for habits. What is that cue that can get you to do what it is you want to do? So BJ Fogg is a behavioral psychologist out of Stanford. So he talks about tiny habits. So if anybody wants to start an exercise habit, I say, okay, start really small. Figure out your cue, and the cue needs to be something that happens every day. Maybe it's when you wake up, which is what I use, or when you drop the kids off to school, or when you get home, or after you load the dishwasher after dinner. Choose something. Keep that cue always consistent, and then choose the habit you want, but then dial it back. So say your habit you want to be someday is running 3 miles. Great. Don't start there. Start with walking 5 minutes. Yeah. Because all you want to do is build that neural pathway of, I load the dishwasher, I walk. Load the dishwasher, I walk. Your brain doesn't care how long you're walking. It just cares that pattern is in place.
And usually for most people, once they're out there doing it, they start to enjoy it. I'm embarrassed to tell you that for many years I struggled with making my bed, and I actually did the same thing. And I actually live alone, so nobody sees my bed. So you could say, well, why do you need to make your bed? But it was just a personal goal for myself. Now I live in a house in San Diego where it takes a while for the shower water to get warm. So I get up in the morning, I turn on the shower, and then I automatically go and make my bed because I have to wait for the shower water to warm up. And it's been working now for 2 years. It's amazing.
And, doesn't it feel good? I mean, that's part of it. It's like you get to then mentally check off, yep, bed made. It feels good. That's why I want people to keep it small, because I would much rather somebody do something small, make your bed, walk for 5 minutes, do 2 push-ups, and have that mental check, got it done, rather than, I'm a failure, I didn't run for 30 minutes, which is, again, you're working against your body, so don't do that. But another habit that I love is called temptation bundling, which sounds so much more illicit than it probably is, but it's based out of, so tell me, Carolyn, do you have an indulgence that you love that you kind of feel guilty about? Maybe you watch like Game of Thrones or like a junk magazine. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, People magazine.
Oh, yes. So that. Okay, so I say find that thing that you always feel a little guilty about, and then find the exercise that you want to do. So maybe it's walking on the treadmill or climbing on the stair climber. Now you have your temptation, your activity. So I say, take that People magazine, and the only time you can read it is when you're walking on the treadmill or when you're on that stair climber or that elliptical. It's the only time. And you have to do that. You have to stick to it. You have to be a little bit policey about that. Now when the magazine arrives in the mail, I get this little, and this sounds crazy, but you get this little hit of like, ooh, like I kind of looking forward to the next time I get to work out because I got to find out what's going on with Harry and Meghan. Hello. So, what? I guess I haven't gotten that issue yet. I've been running outside, so I'm behind on my junk magazines.
But that makes sense because it does spike the dopamine. Once you experience pleasure doing something, just anticipating doing something will make your brain produce a little dopamine spike. When you bundle those, you really make sense physiologically because you're going to get that feel-good feeling even before you do the activity.
100%. You know exactly what you're talking about here. And that when they did this at Wharton, they found that the students who only were allowed to look at that temptation while they were exercising, exercised 50% more. So again, it's like,
well, I wonder if eating chocolate while exercising would work.
Oh, Carolyn, you're smart. I like where your brain is going, but no, sorry.
Probably not the best idea.
That may defeat the whole purpose of, but maybe you're going to get double duty of dopamine there. So, hey.
I have a background in integrative medicine. I trained with Andrew Weil in Tucson about this. And I'm wondering if you were able to employ any integrative therapies, whether it be mindfulness or acupuncture or anything like that.
100%. Andrew Weil is such an amazing person. I've never met him. That's amazing that you trained with him. So remember I said dare, it's kind of the dare to change. Design, automate. R is reframe. And that's where I get to a lot of the mindfulness stuff, because I feel that in today's world, we end up using a lot of our brain power on those things in the D and the A, design and automate, and those exhaust us. Should I eat? When am I going to work out today? Oh, I'm hungry. What's for dinner? But if you can design and you can automate, now you're freeing up your brain power, and now you can put it on in the R, reframe the things that need it. So this is where there's mindfulness, and talk about mindfulness and our kind of automatic negative thoughts and stopping that automatic negative loop that we all have, that inner monologue. In acupuncture is not in the book, but I personally used acupuncture when I was trying to get pregnant with my second child. So yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of research with acupuncture in a variety of conditions.
And especially with chronic pain.
Absolutely. So it's not in the book, but I'm an enormous advocate of acupuncture. I've seen really significant changes for people. Getting back to the other part of that was the mindfulness. Again,
do you meditate or how do you?
I do. And this came to me. So it was, you worked in the ER. I'm an ER doctor. Somebody talked to me about meditation the first time, and I laughed. I was like, I don't meditate. That's not what ER doctors do. I'm so cool.
I can't sit still long enough.
Yeah, I'm so tough. Exactly. And then I realized, actually, that means I need it more than pretty much anybody. So I was doing a series of television, I do pretty regular TV. And for some reason, one after the next, like 8 in a row, had people talking about how they meditate. And I was like, okay, I get the message. Okay, I'll start. So every morning, actually my little morning routine is I wake up, I do a little 5 to 15 minute meditation, pretty short. And then depending on the day, I either run for a mile or I run for 3 miles. And again, that's tiny. Like some days I just can't get 3 miles in. So I do my 1 mile, especially with the 2 munchkins. It depends on what time my 18-month-old wakes up. But yeah, I do a little meditation, either like I have a Deepak Chopra meditation that I like. Right now I'm doing a Gabrielle Bernstein meditation is what I did this morning.
When I was in medical school, someone turned me on to transcendental meditation. And I have to say I credit TM with getting me through medical school and my internship, because I actually was so stressed. I had children in med school. I had an 8-year-old.
God bless.
Yeah. It was, well, I think I was kind of stupid because I really didn't realize how hard it was going to be with kids. And doing TM really helped me to get through that process. So
it's not stupid. Nobody has any idea what either residency is like or what having children is like. There was no way you would have known.
Maybe I could have gathered more information, though, before.
There's never a perfect time. But yes, I have not done TM. I've been really curious about it. There's a TM center here in Atlanta, and I've reached out to them. But nowadays, not having time to actually go someplace, and I've just kind of been doing it at home. But if you have any favorite TMs I can do online, I will absolutely add them to my morning routine and swap them in.
I don't think it really matters what you do. It's just doing it that matters.
Right.
And the easier it is, the better, as you say. I work with a lot of people with behavioral related issues. So addictions, eating disorders, that's what I do nowadays. And, it's the hardest thing in the world is to change your behavior, either to start a new behavior that you want to do or to end something that you don't want to do. So I think these hacks that you're talking about are really useful because it gives people kind of a capsulization of what the research shows about what makes things work and not work.
Yes. And I'm obsessed with the research. Every one of these hacks was like a little mini research paper, which about near killed me at times, but I wasn't going to share anything unless I knew it was truly research backed and that it would truly help people, because what I most want to give people is hope. Their best is ahead of them, and it doesn't take an enormous lift. It takes small changes, putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me just ask you one more question, and that's about being a mom with 2 small children and all the other things that you're doing. What are the ways that you find time to be present with your children? I see so many moms nowadays who are so busy and rushing and use their phones as a way to deal with their own stress or stay connected at work, et cetera. And, I often am in Starbucks or someplace and a mom is on the phone and her child is just sitting across from her.
Okay, so you read my mind, because as you were asking, I wrote down 2 things, and one of them was no devices. So yes, I'm in the media world. I do, with TV and social media. So I have to be connected to my phone, but I do that very sparingly. One of the things is when I'm with my kids, I put down the phone. If I have to pick it up, say I have to, return a text, or there is something in the rare instance, when I'm never with them looking for things. So I only will respond if something gets pushed in. And if that happens, I'll tell my child, I just need to send this. I want to keep doing what we're doing right now. Let me just send it. And sometimes I'll even read it out loud to them. So there's some connection. I know that's not the same, but that's number one, is putting the device down. Just put it down. That saves up time. People on average are spending a half hour or more scrolling through social media. Well, that's a half hour to read to your child or play or go run on the treadmill. That's time. Then it's a time suck, and it's as I'm sure you know, and well, if not better than I, those social media don't make us feel good. They tend to make us feel worse feelings about ourselves. So it not only does it take up time, it makes you feel like crap half the time. Number one is I put down the devices. When we're having a meal, there is no device at the table. Studies have shown that just having the device at the table, even if it's face down, will decrease engagement and decrease conversation. So I put it away. Number two, that having that device means you're multitasking, and anybody out there who does that knows, you try to buy your shampoo on Amazon and talk to your child and fix dinner. Well, you're going to buy 15 shampoos on Amazon, and you're probably going to totally screw up dinner, and nobody's happy. So single task, do the one thing that you need to do at that moment and block out. Like when I'm writing, I turn off my phone. The only person who can get through is my husband and the babysitter. Everything else is turned off. So that's really important. I think
the other thing I hear about from a lot of clients and friends of clients who say that so many moms with young children are bored spending time with their kids. And that I don't understand.
I see what they mean, because when it's different. It's a different part of my brain because suddenly it's like, oh, yay, do you really, let's play Calico Critters again.
Yeah. For me, it was let's watch The Lion King for the 15th time. Yeah, that part was boring.
Yes, so exactly. Yeah. So I think part of it is really engaging with your kiddos at times. But yes, you crave that adult connection. And I think that's probably why they're doing social media, is they're craving some of that adult connection. I also think it's just kind of like us dulling the feeling. We're a little bit anxious. There's too much to do. And now we're like playing with the kids and they're maybe arguing. So I do maybe in a few moments play with your kids and then maybe take 5 minutes and go do social media and knock yourself out, or text your girlfriends. Don't do social media. Text the same people that you'd be social stalking. Instead, text them. Tell them they're fantastic about your day, or ask them a question. Reach out so you're connecting, because technology isn't all bad. It really can connect us. So take your time to do that, but not while you're doing with your kids. And I think the same thing that also goes for everybody is seeing the beauty of the forest for the trees. So our brains are wired to look for the negative. And I had taken my kids on a walk the other day, and it's fall here. So it's fall everywhere. But here that means that we have spiders, and those big brown spiders that tend to come out. So I was walking with the kiddos. I was looking down on the ground for poison ivy or thorns. I was carrying a stick to kind of whack through the trail to make sure I didn't walk face first into a spider web. 3/4 of the way through, I realized I didn't look up at all. I was worried about no, I literally didn't see the forest of the trees. And I think sometimes you hear people say, oh, enjoy this time. And you want to be like, you know what, you want to come to my house at 2 a.m. But I think what they mean to say, they may not realize it, is just be present. Lift your eyes from the poison ivy and spider webs and dirty diapers and temper tantrums, and lift your eyes for just a second to see the beauty of the trees and the beauty of that moment, and just like smell your baby child and just take a moment, even if it's for 2 minutes. Yeah. And that's what I think we all need to do, whether it's your children or your work or whatever you're doing, whether you're a mom or not. See the beauty of the forest around you just for a minute or two every day. And that of itself keeps us moving forward.
That's awesome advice, Dr. Daria. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Do you want to let people know how they can get your book in February?
Yes, sure.
Give us your website address as well.
Mostly it's like how we can engage together. So my website is Dr. Daria, so Darria. That's 2 R's. There's somebody else with 1 R. That's not me. So drdaria.com. And then I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all of them as Dr. Daria, Darria. Sign up for the newsletter. We're going to be starting to do some hacks groups and playing with some different things on social media. So I'd love to hear from people and engage with them there too. So, and when they go on my website, they can find out drdaria.com/momhacks. is how they can find the book. It's also on Amazon if you search for my name there.
That's wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I loved it. We could talk forever.
You have been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Coker-Ross Show. Please visit CarolynRossMD.com. That's CarolynRossMD.com to access podcasts, show archives, and more about Dr. Ross and her services.